Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend and you're ready to go for this last stretch before we hit the holidays. So my son sent me a kind of a funny slide, and I thought I'd share it with you. So once you've read both of these books, you'll have all the knowledge in the universe. What they teach you at Harvard Business School and what they don't teach you at Harvard Business School. So what do you take from that particular slide? I thought it was pretty hilarious that they said that. Everybody's got a what? Point of view. So we need to be, a lot of guys will ask me, what books should I read? I'm happy that you want to read books. When should you read? In my opinion, you're thinking Mike Kapslin's opinion, when do I think you should read books? I love reading. I read a book every single week. But when do I think you should read books? Yes, Dave. Yes. No, Wade. So I'm getting a lot of yes, right answers and a few wrong answers. Yes, after you've mastered the 21. After you've mastered the 21, read all the books you want. But until then, what should all of your free time be spent doing? If you want to succeed, it should be spent mastering the 21. And then if you want to read books, I love it. I love the fact that you read books. Thanks, Michael, for this. Michael actually is I love Michael in St. Louis because he's on every single coaching call. He listens to the 5-minute tape reviews. He looks at the 5-minute money makers every week, and he actually took one of those and he created. This is actually an email he sent out to a warm list he had, and he got a 1% response sending this to his warm list. So basically talking about the things we talked about. Did you know Social Security accidentally kills 12,000 people a year? This video does a great job of explaining it. It's the NPR video that we refer you to. What are you doing to protect your wife when she loses half your Social Security income at your death? What has your husband done to replace his Social Security income to lose at his death? Why would a program that covers 2 years of in-home long-term care without paying a cent in annual premiums be important? How much of your investment income have you moved to the 3% tax bracket? Less than 30 days left in this year to harvest all the money from your IRA tax-free. So 1%, and what did it cost him, guys, to send this out to his warm list? Nothing, and it's during the holiday season. So, kudos to Michael. And he's always, the one thing I love about Michael, I've talked always about Frank, who's in Kohler, Wisconsin, and he'd always say, Mike, your marketing sucks. And I say, well, thanks, Frank. But he says, but I love it, because he says I'm doing 5 things all the time, and even though all 5 of those suck, guess what? Because Frank never did the big things like doesn't do the eye-to-eye, doesn't do the seminars and things like that. He'd always do my little tiny, less costly marketing things, but he'd have 5 of them going at any time. And when he's doing 5 at one time, he's always getting 1, 2, 3 people a month to come in at very, very low cost. And that's what Michael in St. Louis does. Is he does this, and Bonnie is they do the same thing. Is they just market a whole bunch of different ways so they constantly have new things coming in. And that's what we're going to roll out here at the beginning of January, so that you have 3 levels of marketing. One is background marketing, one is big ticket marketing, and one is appointment type marketing. And we're going to roll that out at the beginning of January. But we have on our website dozens of free marketing things that cost you nothing. It just takes some elbow grease, and kudos to Michael for paying attention and doing these things. So this week's 5-minute moneymaker was want a nice sales letter to send to warm your bucket, or send to assisted care living retirement activities directors to get them interested in what you do. So we now have, I think, 5 or 6 guys going to retirement communities and assisted care living facilities and offering to do free things for their activities directors, do free little 1-hour presentations, and they're being opened with open arms. They're being welcomed with open arms. So if you're wondering what to do, you should reach out to Jeff or myself, and we'll tell you what they're doing to get in front of those folks. 5Q tape breakdown. In this 20-second snippet, we discover what is a need for an essential skill. So guys, pay attention to these 5-minute breakdowns. It's a great way to learn to be a better communicator. So one of the things I want to talk about today is how to become recognized as an expert. And this is one of those things that cost you nothing. Costs you nothing. And I've talked about this about once a year, but it's amazing how few guys do this. So how would you like it if you could have on everything that you do for marketing, as seen in New York Times, as seen in the Wall Street Journal, as seen in Fortune, Reuters, Investors Business Daily, Forbes, Bloomberg, Fast Company, or your local paper? How would that help you to be seen like that? Does that help you at all? Now, there's services out there that charge you thousands of dollars to do this. And I've been showing advisors for the last 18 years how to do it for free. And here's the funny thing. The person who showed me how to do it for free, guess what? I went to a community education class taught by a little old lady who was an embroiderer. And she used this to get mentioned in all the craft magazines and things like that. But I was like, well, it seems like it would work for finances. And I did it for financial. It's a way to become an expert. So she became an expert nationwide in Rochester, Minnesota, nationwide as an embroiderer by doing this and getting mentioned in all the different craft magazines. I did the same thing, and you'll see the success I had with it here in a few minutes, but I did the same thing for finances and had the same kind of success. And I've had guy after guy after guy get quoted in the New York Times, guy after guy after guy get quoted by Reuters or Fortune or Wall Street or Kiplinger's or Money Magazine. So if you do these things, instead of saying, yeah, that's a good idea, and then after the call, forgetting about it, don't forget about it. Actually do this. Do this, do this. So it's under public relations campaign. So if you go to Epidemic Marketing, we have all sorts of different things. There's the monthly marketing, but the public relations campaign, it tells you exactly how to do this, but I'm going to walk you through it. Oh, and yeah, it's free. It used to cost you 47 cents. It used to cost you 47 cents. Guess what? It's actually free today because you don't even have to mail this out. You actually email this. So within 3 months of doing this, I was quoted in Kiplinger's Personal Finance, Your Money Magazine, got referred to huge articles as one of the top 10 money shows in the country. Had a local reporter do a front page article on me in our city newspaper. I made 40 grand in commissions directly tied to 2 of the letters, and I made tons more money indirectly linked to my letters. So guys, this was in 3 months. And then after that, I kept getting more and more reporters approaching me until I kind of backed out of wanting to do this anymore. But I could have got quoted in as many magazines as I wanted with this. And I've had taught guys to do the things I'm going to show you here in a second, and they had the same success with Wall Street Journal, New York Times, etc. And guys, when you have that, on your ads and your website and everything else, that is a huge thing. So here's how you do it step by step. Get the magazines. Go down to your local bookstore. Grab 5 different magazines that you want to be quoted in. Grab 5 different magazines you want to be quoted in. Bring them home, and then read them. And find then an article in there that you have an opinion on. So read the magazines and then tear out the ones that you have an opinion on, that you think that you could add to it, or you're going to disagree with it, or you're going to agree with it vehemently, or give an example of why it's important. Find something you have an opinion on. And then you're going to write a letter to the editor. Okay? And here's the letter format. Follow this format, and they will print your letter. It's almost like 33% of the time, I would say. About 1 in 3 letters you send will get printed when you follow this. So what do you think? Let's see if you guys get this and how well you're becoming students of communicating. What do you think the first thing you're going to do in your letter to the editor is? Nicholas has got it. Nicholas has got it. He said compliment them. Good job. Yep, got them. That's right, Mark. So compliment them on the quality of their magazine, not even about the article. Compliment them about the quality of their magazine. Tell them you've been a reader for years. Tell them how important their stories are for their readers. Tell them how the magazine has changed your life. Gots them with empowering. Tell them they are above average. Why do they want, why does it move your letter right to the top of the pile for the letters of the editor? Promotes the magazine, right, Wade? It promotes the magazine and markets for them, right, Dave? So when people read the letter to the editor, the first thing they see is somebody saying, wow, this is an awesome magazine. So you begin with this, okay? Number 2, then you identify the article you'll be commenting on. You say, I recently read your article entitled The 8 Blah, Blah, Blah in your April issue. So identify the article you're talking about. 3, then tell them why you're qualified to comment on the article. Not on and on and on, just briefly. I've worked with retirees as a financial advisor for 16 years, or I'm a registered investment advisor who's worked with retirees for the last 25 years. And why do they want to see that? You just complimented their magazine, and you said what? I'm an expert, and I'm an expert. So they're like, wow, this expert is complimenting my magazine or my periodical or my newspaper. Make sense? 4, comment as to why you either agree with it, disagree with it, or what you think they forgot to mention in that article. So when you do that, guess what? So again, let's go through so compliment them, empower them, tell them why their magazine is terrific. Number 2, mention the article that you're going to comment on, tell them why you're qualified to comment on that article, and then comment on the article. If you do that, you'll be amazed on how you can quote it even in the biggest, like Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Barron's, Money Magazine, Kiplinger's. It's amazing what you can get complimented on when you do that. And when you do that, you're going to get the ability to say, as seen in. If your letter to the editor, if your letter to the editor is in that magazine, can you say, as seen in? I got 1 yes. Come on, guys. Can you put that down as seen in if your letter to the editor is in that periodical? I got 5 yeses. Come on. Yeah, and Dave said even if you're BD licensed, you can say that. Yeah, Mark's saying he got into Kiplinger's doing this. Credibility. You get credibility. You get fame. You get national exposure. Free press. Like I said, after I was mentioned in Kiplinger's, and then my Money Magazine mentioned the seminar I did as one of the top 10 money shows. Guys, the seminar I did for marketing, the seminar I did for marketing, the reporter never even saw the seminar, but after he interviewed me, guess what he said? It was one of the top 10 money shows in the country. And because of that, then the local press saw that and said, geez, we have this guy who's got one of the top 10 money shows in the country right in our midst. They ran a front page article on me. What do you think the likelihood I could have gotten in the front page article, full page, half a page article on the front page, full half page on the front page, if I approached the reporter and said, hey, you should write an article on me? It was their idea. How about, Jerry says slim, not slim, what? Not slim, what? None. There's no way they would have. But because the national, the local reporter read it in a national magazine and then approached me, not me approached them. And reporters began to call me and want my comments on things. So if you note, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's certain advisors that are constantly quoted in magazines. The same ones over and over and over. Guess why? Because of what we're talking about there. So once a reporter, you get on a reporter's list and they know that you give good quotes, they'll call you back and back and back and back and back. It's easier than going to find a new one all the time. They don't want to go find new sources. They want sources that provide what they want when they want it. So, guys, how much effort does it take to do that? I've given you, you don't even have to figure out how to do it. I've told you exactly what to do, and you have a high likelihood of success with it. How much effort does it take what I'm talking about doing? Not much. And yet, I've been talking to guys for 18 years about this. And here's the funny thing. Even guys that got quoted in New York Times, guess what they did when I asked them about it 3 weeks later, or 3 months later? They stopped doing it. Guys, you should be doing this how often? Not with the same magazine, not the same periodical, but I would be doing it constantly. Constantly. Make sense? So you can figure out exactly how to do that under the epidemic marketing of the website section of the website. In the public relations portion, there's an actual manual on exactly how to do that. So today we're going to talk about, we're going to do a tape review, and we're going to talk about the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega of the 21-point checklist meeting. And why is the beginning and the end so important? Well, if you know anything about psychology, what do people remember? They remember the beginning and the end, but more especially the end. The beginning sets the tone, but they remember the end. So what are we supposed to be doing at the beginning? Anybody? What are we supposed to be doing at the beginning? I love that. Setting expectations, setting the tone. Setting the expectations is a great thing. Do we let them know at the beginning that we're going to be having any solutions at this meeting? No. We tell them there's no solutions at this meeting. This is simply to find out what they like and what they don't like. Now, the one mistake that guys keep making over and over and over again is, should I go through at the beginning of the meeting, should I go through the full 21 things and kind of give them a preview of all 21 things? No. No, no, no. All that does is get you in the weeds. So let's listen to how this gentleman, so we're going to talk about the beginning, and then we're going to listen to the end as well. So let's listen to the beginning here. It's about 5 minutes, and tell me how well he does with the beginning here. And I'll pull up let me pull up the, okay, here's the introduction. He should say, we're not here about solutions, we're here about finding what you do like and what you don't like. You go through the goals, tell them they've done some things really, really well, and then address the areas of concern, and then you're off to the races. That's all you should do. So let's listen to how he does.
Memory, and it fills up fast, so I just, it's like, okay, I'll listen, go back, listen to whatever I need to round out my notes, and then I delete it and start over. So it works pretty cool. So it's amazing what I remember back when I was a kid. My cassette player, I had reel-to-reel also, but the cassette player I thought was so neat, and it was that big, and now then they came up the Walkmans years later, and now they have things like that are unbelievable. But let me we'll go ahead and we'll dive into this.
So what was he doing there? He was asking to record. So those of you that are afraid to ask to record, guys, most people have no problem with you recording. Did these people have any problem with him as recording? No, none whatsoever. So here we go. We're getting into the beginning of the meeting here.
And a lot of my clients kind of refer to me as their financial quarterback, and I think a lot of times because of what we put together. And the 21-point checklist really came out. I think I mentioned I work with a consortium of about 150 advisors.
Okay, he's already mentioned something twice. What has he already mentioned twice? Himself. Exactly. Himself. Should I ever mention myself at the 21-point checklist? Ever? No. This meeting is about what? Them and their relationships with their current guy or their current entities. That's all it's about. And you're going to notice, you're going to see that, do you think this guy, based on what's happening right here, is going to have a good luck or bad luck with his meeting? Bad luck. Because what does he do? How is he approaching this meeting? Is he approaching it as a beauty pageant mentality or an advisorectomy mentality? Beauty pageant or advisorectomy? Beauty pageant, yep. Look at me. I'm so fantastic. Worship me. Exactly. He's approaching it like a beauty pageant mentality. And so what do people say when you approach it with a beauty pageant mentality at the end? What do they say? The killer phrase, what do they say at the end? Wade's got it. I need to think about it. Dave, Nicholas, we need to think about it. Yep, Jerry, we need to think about it. That's what they say. So guess what they're you guys predict. So we've listened to how much of this tape so far? Let me see. We're at 57 seconds, less than 1 minute of this tape. And what did you guys all predict? You predicted exactly what you predicted what the client is going to say, and we've listened to, guys, do you see the power of what the 21-point checklist does for you? 20 years ago, I predicted what your clients would say in the future. 20 years, years ago, I predicted what your clients would say in the future. It's that powerful. It's also so powerful that you guys listen to 1 minute of a 2.5-hour meeting, 1 minute of a 2.5-hour meeting, and you already know what's going to happen. Do you get the power of that? So that's, if you do this right, guess what that power does for you? In this case, your ability to identify that this meeting is going to go off track, that bodes well for you because you know what not to do. Now all you need to do is go do the right thing. Make sense? So here we go.
We've looked collectively at, I'd say, well over 50,000 couples and individuals, their finances, and what we, in our meetings, in our conference calls and all, we just kept finding that there were all these common things that came up, and they didn't tend to be so much the big things. And I often ask people, you know, what is it in life that kind of tends to come back and get us and, you know, kind of bite us in the back? And, you know, is it the big things or is it the little things that get us? So, you know, that's kind of the way we've looked at it. And most people have taken care of it.
So what's he doing now? So we're a minute and a half into it. What's he doing? Yep, telling, selling, preaching, teaching. You got it. Just telling, selling, preaching, and teaching.
Things, and you certainly have done some really big things. You know, your careers, getting your portfolio together, getting all the real estate. I mean, I think you've, especially for your age, you've done tremendously well. You've really done well on things. The 21-point checklist, though, kind of looks at the little things that, you know, the big stuff. You know, how far away can you see the big stuff usually? Yeah. You know, and if it's that far away, you can usually get out beforehand. You know, get out in time. But the little stuff kind of tends to come out of left field, and where you just don't see it, and that stuff kind of tends to blossom and become a big thing. And that's what we try to avoid. And we've seen a lot of these things, and it spanned pretty much everybody. You know, from people with very modest means to people that were really very wealthy. That a lot of these things just weren't covered, and it's not hard to fix these things, but you know, as long as we catch them in time, then they don't become big things. So anyway, with that said.
So now 3 minutes in, and I've heard the client say, how many times did the client talk in 3 minutes? Once. And what did he say? Yeah. So do we have any? First of all, there's many problems with this. Number one, do we have any clue what the client's thinking at this point? No. We have no clue what the client's thinking at this point. Also, when somebody says yes, is that an answer that means anything to us? No. But here's one of the biggest things. This guy has told these people what's the rules going forward. This is the biggest problem. Because Jeff and I will talk to advisors, and they'll say, this is the biggest problem I had with this meeting. How do I fix it? Yes, Wade. You sit here while I talk. So in other words, they are not getting used to answering questions. So now what's going to happen if he yaps, and then finally wants to get the person to admit something that their advisor did was wrong? What will the people do at that point when he tries to? He's been yakking the whole. Crickets. Right. They won't talk then, and then it's going to be very clear that I get it. You were preaching at me for the last 15 minutes, and now you want me to say my guy's bad. Guess what you can do with your want? Jump in the creek. But if they're answering all along, when you get to the point where they start saying their guy is not doing the things he needs to be doing, it's just one more thing they're commenting on. So so Jeff, when you hear people say, when an advisor tells you these people can't talk, I can't drag anything out of them. They sit there like bumps in the log. How often does the meeting start out that way, Jeff?
It almost never starts out that way. When you listen to the first part of the tape, everybody's joking and like, yeah, we're excited to be here. Yeah, we found the parking okay. Yeah, I don't know if we told you, we just moved our son to wherever, and so yeah, we're back and we're going to be here for a while. Yeah, I know those old Walkmans. Yeah, I had reel to reel, so you were lucky to. And then the meeting starts, and you start lecturing, and they figure, okay, I got it. It's like a classroom. You lecture, I listen.
Mm-hmm. So guys, very rarely, I can't even recall a time when I've listened to a tape where the person really was clammed up. The reason they've clammed up is because the advisor did something to clam them up. So here we're going to keep going here.
A couple of the goals that we got off your information was that, I'd say one of the more important things was you.
And I interrupted, but he did one thing. What did he do so far on this list? He's talking about goals now, but what did he do before goals? The other thing that he's done. Yeah, he did do things done well. He didn't do things done well the way I want him to. What I want him to do, when it comes to things done well, I want to say, listen, at this point, you've done all the heavy lifting. You've done, if you came to me and you didn't have enough money to retire, there's nothing I could do, but you've done a fantastic job of saving. That's heavy lifting. That's things that takes years and years and years to do. You've done that already. You don't have a lot of debt. That takes years to get out of debt, to own your home, to own your cars. That takes years. So if you came to me and you were heavy in debt and you had not enough money to retire, there's nothing I could do. You've done all the heavy lifting. So all the things that I can show you, they're easy to do. They're simple to do. They're just little tweaks, and you can greatly improve your life just with little tweaks. But if you hadn't done all the heavy lifting, guess what? All the tweaks in the world wouldn't help you. So that's how I want you to do things done well. But again, he's riffing here instead of following the script. So now let's hear how he does in goals.
Want to protect yourself from catastrophic and long-term care costs. And that's something, especially with longevity in families and how long we're living nowadays. That's a big thing. I'm dealing with that right now with Mom, and I'm not sure what we're going to do exactly there. So, and
do you want to guess what he talks about through this next 2.5 hours? Constantly. Him and his mom. Him and his mom, and his mom, him and his mom, him and his mom, him and his mom, his mom. Guys, I know that you love your mom, but where should conversation about mom stay? Anywhere but in this meeting. This meeting is about them, and this meeting is about their relationship with their guy.
I'd like to see increases in the investment portfolio, and I don't think too many people mind saying that. Yeah, exactly.
So he did something good there. What did he do well there? The guy made a joke and he laughed. That's good. So he did do that well.
You do have your will in place. We'll talk about the legal documents and kind of go through that, how those things work. You've got good income to meet your expenses.
I'm going to comment on this. So Ray said that he got them to engage. No. So Ray, you're right. They did engage, but did he get them to engage, or did they just engage regardless of him? See, they just engaged regardless of him. So if we go back, it wasn't anything he did. The guy's just saying, geez, can I say something here, and jumped in there.
Legal documents and kind of go through that and how those things work. You've got good income to meet your expenses, and you've got a really good level of assets, as I mentioned, for where you're at right now in life. So I think you've done really, really well on that, positioning yourself. Areas of concern, things that we'll talk about, and you're pretty good on these things. I don't know if I mentioned the bell curve, if you're familiar with the bell curve, and what we see is sometimes there are only a few, and those are just people kind of on the very end of the bell curve, and then we have people that are way down here, and they've got just all 21 things they've really got to look at, and they're kind of a wreck. And those handful tend to be over here. The vast majority are right.
And Nicholas comments, the bell curve now? Guys, is this where the bell curve? Yes. He's lecturing. He's trying to teach them. Guys, we don't tell, sell, preach, or teach.
Middle. So, yeah, and I think you're kind of in the middle on that stuff.
Sure.
So we'll go through these things. We'll start out with the survivor's guide.
Then he tells them that you're in the middle on that. Hey, that's where most of us are, in the middle of any bell curve. So even, if you're doing the bell curve, do it right. Should we ever tell somebody where they are in a bell curve? Should we ever tell them what they should think? Should we ever tell them how they should feel? Should we tell them anything? When you tell people how they should act, where they are, whatever, unless you're telling them that they're super fantastic, if you tell them anything else, guess what? There's a saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. If you tell somebody, I don't care how logical it is, that they should think, feel, act, or be some way, what's their natural inclination? When you go up to somebody, and even if there's a fire, and you try to push somebody, what will they do back? If there's a fire behind you, you're trying to get away from the fire, and you push them, what will they do? Run or push back? And that's the beauty of the system when you do it right. When you follow the script, how many times do we push them with the script? If you do it right, when do we push them? Never. All we do is ask questions and let them lead us. Now, we do ask leading questions, but they do the leading. We hand them the reins, and then we say, what direction do you want me to go? And then they take me that direction. But they have to do the leading. Make sense?
A bit more time on that. We'll talk about the legal, your legal documents, the wills and trusts and power of attorneys and all those different things. Quality of life directive, we'll spend a couple minutes on that. That's something that kind of ties in, especially with the medical power of attorney. And I just don't see anybody having that, and it's something that I think is really, really important. We'll touch on identity theft, and that's getting to be more and more of a problem.
I'm going to stop it here. Now, what's he doing, guys? What's he doing? He's going item by item through the 21-point checklist. Don't do that. Why do I not want you to cover all the things that you're covering, the 21s up front? Too long, I agree with that. Overwhelming, I agree with that. Get bogged down. What do you mean by get bogged down? Because that's the reason I don't want you to do it. Why did you say get bogged down? Snags, right, Mark? What do you mean by snags? Yes, Nicholas, it opens up to questions. Oh, I had a question on that and blah, blah, blah. Now you're out in the weeds because they start asking questions about some of these things. And then, remember, guys, this 21-point checklist is set up specifically. The first 7 things are designed to get them what? To leave their guy? Are the first 7 things we cover designed to get them to leave their guy? Or is it about them to say, you know what, these things aren't my guy's job, but it'd be certainly nice if he did them. I mean, these are certainly ways for him to pick up his game. These are things. So the first 7 things are things that nobody would ever leave their advisor for. But they think, you know what, my guy needs to pick up his game. So it's about them being disappointed their guy could be doing more. You get that? The second 7 things are about what? Them saying, wait a minute, these things are his job. I'm going to talk to that guy. These are his job. He should be doing these things. Still, some people will start to leave with if he's not doing his job, but some people would just rather go back and say, you need to do your job better. And what does the guy always say when you say you need to do your job better? Hey, we've all been in that guy's shoes, right? When your client comes and says, you better start doing your job better, what do we all do? Say, all right, man, cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye, I'm going to be better. So, but then the last things where they discover, you know what, this guy is stealing from me. He is hiding information from me for the sole purpose of making money off of me. Because if I'd known these things, I would never have invested with him and he wouldn't have made money. He is stealing from me. But see, we can't get to that point unless we start out with them being disappointed, then they get irritated, and then they get irate. If we screw that up and start some of the things that they're going to be irate up front, and if we start moving these things into different order, guess what happens to the whole process? It falls apart, blows up. So we need to do these things in the right order. So don't give them a preview of all the different things. What we're supposed to do is what? Oops, let me get back here. So what we want, today is not about any solution. Today is for me to figure out what you like and what you don't like. Should I be telling you what you like and don't like, or should you be telling me what you like and don't like? We should be telling you. Right. Now, once I know what you'd like, should I go try to find something better. If you like it, you like it. Well, no, I don't think you should. No, if we like it, you don't need to do that. No. But if you don't like something, then what should I do? Well, then you should go look for things. Yeah, that's right. So I will only, at our next meeting, I will start to address all the things that you don't like at this meeting. And again, whose job is it to tell me that? Well, it's our job. So now, have I done number 1 there, guys? Who told me that I'm not going to give them any solutions at this meeting? Now, did this advisor have them tell him that they don't want solutions at this meeting? Nope. Guess what's going to happen at the end? They want solutions. Okay. Then the second thing is, now here's your goals, blah, 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 the goals they cover. How much time do I spend on the goals, guys? 10 seconds. Because this is not about their goals. Then I go and do that little script I did about things done well. They've done all the heavy lifting. All the things that I are going to show them today are simple and easy. Do you get that? You've done all the heavy lifting. The things we're going to talk about today are simple and easy. What is that? What am I doing there when I say that what? All the things I'm going to show them are going to be simple and easy. It gets in their mind that, oh, this is going to be a fun meeting, not heavy and you know, he's going to tell me I have to change everything. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm telling you up front, no, it's going to be simple and easy. And then I just simply talk about areas of concern. How much time do I spend in the areas of concern? None. Or as little as possible. Because what's their areas of concern, are they aware of the biggest area of concern at this point? Do they even have a clue what their biggest area of concern is at this point? No, because what's going to be, by the end of this meeting, what's their biggest area of concern? Their advisor, exactly right. Does that make sense? So now this guy is, just a second, we're almost done here with this part of the tape.
Umbrella liability. We'll talk a little bit about titling the assets, and that kind of comes back into tie in with the legal documents also. And then we'll talk a little bit about asset weighting and diversification and some of the risk-reward things, and then kind of touch on long-term care. And again, we could probably be here till midnight going through everything on here, but we can breeze through this stuff. The first thing is the survivor's guide.
Okay, so we're 5 minutes, 20 seconds in. How many of those 5 minutes and 20 seconds was it the advisor talking? Yeah, Till, you noted they didn't laugh, right, Till? So at this point, we don't even know what they're thinking. So yeah, I agree, Dave. Out of 520 seconds, about 5 minutes and 19 seconds, he was talking. So I think we probably got a total of 10 seconds out of them. So when I'm doing the 21-point checklist, how many open-ended questions do I ask per minute? When I'm doing the 21-point checklist, about how many? 4 to 5. Yep, about 4 to 5. When I made my $1 million, I was probably only asking 2 to 3 a minute. So that means if you ask at least 2 a minute, you should be able to make $1 million, or in today's world with so much more money and being 401ks, $2 million a year. So in 5 minutes, how many open-ended questions minimum should we have heard already? Minimum. Yeah, 10. If it was me, how many would we already had? We'd probably already had 20. 25. So at this point, you can see what direction this is going. This guy is going to do what? If he and Jeff, when we asked him, are you doing the 21-point checklist, what did he tell us?
He said he's doing it exactly the way it's laid out. And he's not.
Is he?
No, not at all.
Now, is he covering the 21 topics?
Yeah, he's covering the 21 topics, but yeah.
So why, if he's covering the 21 topics then, Jeff, why would you say he's not doing it?
Well, it's not about the 21 topics. The 21 topics are an excuse to talk about their guy. And when he went through that little 21 thing, the problem with going through there's 2 problems with going through the 21 before you get to the topics, kind of a preview. One, it reinforces in their mind that, oh, this is just about those things. It's not about my guy. It's not about anything but what's wrong with these things in their mind. And I hear a lot of advisors tell me, well, they didn't think anything was wrong. And then it reinforces it in your mind. You're telling your own brain, we're just going to talk about these things. We're not going to talk about their guy. And so it doesn't surprise me that we never get to that part of the meeting. You're covering all 21 things, but you're not covering them the right way.
Guys, it's not, as Jeff said, it's not about the 21 things. All those 21 things can be fixed. It's about what those 21, their thoughts on those 20 things and why those they think they happened and why they were omitted by their advisor and why their advisor did this. This is about them explaining to themselves. It's them using Socratic selling method on themselves. You'll get some people here, and the sad thing is, the system is so good, even if you're lousy at it, you're going to feel it's succeeding. Because when you do the 21-point checklist, even the way he's doing it, you're going to sell way more than you did before. Because some people know that you care, and they know that you're different, and you'll get more people than you normally would. But if you want to get everybody, can you do it the way that this guy's doing it? No. If you want to get everybody, and I ask guys, let me ask you this, guys. Why do we have a 95% closure? When you do this right, when you do the 21-point checklist with motivational interviewing, with open-ended questions, we have a 95% closing ratio. Why? And don't tell me it's because we got 50,000 tapes. Have you listened to 50,000 tapes? No. Jeff and I have. Missy has. But you guys haven't. So that's not a good answer. Why do we have a 95% closing ratio with the 21-point checklist when you do it right? Yeah, you got it, Nicholas. Dave's got it. Come on, guys. We need more than that. Yeah, everybody's getting it. They tell us how many times should they tell us? If there's 60 minutes in an hour, and the meeting is 2.5 hours long, so that's 60 plus 60 is 120, and another 30 is 150. That's 150 minutes. How many times should they tell us minimum that they don't like their guy? Sometimes in little ways, sometimes in big guys. How many times should they tell us? If you're asking at least 2 open-ended questions over 150 minutes, how many times should they tell us in little ways and big ways they don't like their guy? I got one right answer. Come on, guys. You're a financial advisor. Now we're getting more. 300 times. If they tell me 300 times, sometimes in little ways, sometimes in medium-sized ways, sometimes in big ways, they don't like their guy, that he is taking advantage of them, what will they do at the end of that meeting? Change. Leave him. Yep. They'll leave him. So Till asks a good question. So Till says, how long should the meetings last? Initially, when you first start doing the 21-point checklist right, it will be probably 3 hours long. And if you're doing them right and gossing them after every time they answer the question, is that too long for the client? No. They love it because you're patting them on the back every time they answer a question. But it's the reason it's taking 3 hours. See, here's the thing. You're asking the same number of open-ended questions that I do in an hour and a half. So the reason my meetings took an hour and a half is because how many open-ended questions was I asking per minute versus you asking per minute? Twice as many. So if I'm asking twice as many open-ended questions per minute, guess what happens to the time it takes for me to get them to say they want to leave their guy 300 times? Half as long. So what happens is the better you get at this, the better you get at asking open-ended questions so that everything that comes out of your mouth starts with a who, what, where, why, when, how, the shorter your meetings get. Because if it takes 3 hours and works, it's because you were only asking one open-ended question per minute or one every 2 minutes. If you want to shorten that up, you want to ask open-ended questions at a much more rapid pace than that. Does that make sense? So when people first start and they're getting used to asking open-ended questions, and the who, what, where, why, when, how questions are taking longer and longer to get to, to get to, instead of like rapid fire, boom, 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 it's going to take 3 hours. But as you get better at that, it goes from 3 hours to 2.5, 2.5 to 2, and then 2 to an hour and a half. About an hour and a half is about as good as you can do with the 21-point checklist. But is an hour and a half too long to spend with somebody who when they woke up in the morning, love their guy, to at the end they want to sue their guy? Is an hour and a half too long to take with somebody? Okay, let me ask you a question then. I agree, it's not. How about 3 hours? Is it too long to spend 3 hours with somebody if they woke up in the morning loving their guy, and by the end of that 3 hours wanted to sue their guy? Is that too long to spend with somebody? Because when they want to sue their guy, how much of their money do they move? All of it. Make sense? So we're running out of time here. I won't get to do all of this, but I'm going to see if we can't get some of this done. I'm going to jump to the end now. And what should he be doing at the end? What should he be doing at the end? The biggest thing he needs to be doing at the end is what? Reviewing everything from top to bottom. So he's going to go, he went to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 21. And then he should be going 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, going back through the 21 backwards. Why? What's the purpose of going back from 21 back to number 1? What's the purpose of that? I would agree, Mark. Reinforce the motive, absolutely. What else? Remind them of all we're covered, Dave. We covered a lot of stuff. Remember, they only remember the last thing, so I have to go through and have them remember all that stuff. But what's the biggest thing I'm making sure? I'm really doing this for me. You're right, Larry. Remember the pain sooner, absolutely. The reason I go from back to bottom, all the things that you're saying, but there's another reason I'm doing it. It's for me. What do you mean? What do I mean by it's for me? So you know they got it right way. Because, Jeff, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I get sometimes even after coaching guys for 18 years and listening to all these, thousands and tens of thousands of tapes, I'll hear it and say, God, this guy's got him. This guy's got him. They're angry. They're angry. Yeah, he's got him. They're angry. And then at the end, it's like, wait a minute. There's some little tickle in the back of my mind. I think something's off here. And then you realize, oh, crap, they're angry at their situation, not at their guy. And that still happens to me, even with coaching you guys, where I can get caught into that, man, they're really pissed off. But they're pissed off because they're not diversified. They're pissed off because they're paying too much in fees. They're pissed off about everything, but it doesn't matter if they're mad about their fees and about not being diversified. Does that get you anything, guys? Yeah, you'll have more success, but will you close 95% of people if that's what they're mad at? It has to be at their guy. So the reason I go from 21 backwards is to make sure that I hear what, Jeff, when they're going backwards?
Well, that they understand that it's really about their guy, not about the thing.
So if I'm going backward and say, so what do we find out about diversification? They say, well, geez, you know what? We're not diversified at all. Basically, I could have 3 investments instead of 1, and so I'm not diversified at all. That's garbage. And when you hear that, you think, what, guys? What would a non-educated advisor think when they heard that? Awesome! Is that awesome? If you hear that, guys? I only got 2 no's. Guys, that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear, geez, I found out that I could have been in just 2 investments instead of 15 investments, so I'm not diversified at all. That's not good. What you want to hear is, my advisor is playing some sort of tricky-dicky stuff with me to have me in just 2 investments, have me in 15 investments that are acting like 2 investments. The reason he did that was to make it look complicated, because if I knew I just needed to be in 2 investments, I'd just do that myself. I wouldn't need him. So instead, he's playing this tricky-dicky stuff with where he's got me in 15 different things to make it look complicated, when really it's not all that complicated. All those 15 things are just like 2 investments. He's just doing this to screw me over. Now, what do I got? Now am I happy? Yeah, I'm really happy if they say that. So let's listen to a little bit of what happens here at the end of the meeting.
It's a pretty cheap fund, pretty inexpensive. So the other thing the last thing that we do like to talk about is long-term care, and I know that's something that you have.
Wait a minute. Last thing we want to talk about is long-term care. Is that a number 1 here? Is it number 2 here? Is that number 3 here? Is that number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8? Is that any of those? What's he doing at this point, guys? Yep, he's selling. He's selling long-term care. He's going to sell. Hey, guys, we love the win-win-win. We love the life long-term care hybrid. Should we be selling that or anything else at this meeting? No.
Concern on. Have you ever shopped for long-term care insurance?
No.
Okay.
What did that guy just told him right then and there? What did you hear what he said? Yeah, ouch, Dave. Why did he say ouch? Listen to what happens again.
You ever shopped for long-term care insurance?
No.
Okay.
So, but guess what he's going to do? Guess what the advisor's going to do? Keep going. Dudes, I'm going to cut this. We're not even going to listen anymore. Do you know how badly this is going to go as he tries to shove a long-term care down the guy's throat at this point? Well or poorly? Poorly. So he's 2.5 hours in right now. And what did he do? Even if he accomplished what he wanted that first 2.5 hours, guess what he's doing with those 2.5 hours that he just invested? Flushing them. Because everything he did up to this point is getting flushed away because he's now turned into hyper-selling mode. So I'm going to jump forward because there's about 10 minutes of him selling long-term care, and guess what the guy's saying all 10 minutes? Nope, 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 nope. So I'm going to jump forward here to about 10 minutes, and once we're out of that, you get the point there, I hope. So let me get up here. 44, 38. That's about right. There we go.
I'm saving all of my money for my kitten hair. I've never seen that. That hasn't happened. So, oh boy.
Well, this has been good for us, but I'm still going to come back to the question that I asked you before. I mean, I still don't have a good feel for what services you do that you make your living off of.
We do a lot of different things. And that's a good question.
So at the end of the meeting, what's this guy's concern? At the end of the meeting, what should the guy's concern be? His advisor, right. Instead, what's his questions about? Well, what are you selling? How do you make a living? What do you do? Why are we in here? So do you know at this point? So we know at 2 minutes and 45 minutes that the first 2 hours and 45 minutes were what? Wasted. And it's kind of funny that the guy asked that because this advisor just spent the last 10 minutes trying to sell him long-term care. So guess what does the guy know what he has? How he makes a living? Yes, he does. Why is he asking him that question? Because he wants this guy to quit acting like an advisor and admit that he's a salesman. That's why he's doing it. This guy's a sharp cookie. The customer's a sharp cookie. He's a do-it-yourselfer. No, he was listening, Larry. He was listening just fine. This guy is sharp. And what he heard that guy selling, he said, come on, dude. Quit acting like you're an advisor and tell me, what are you really looking for here? Because you're not here to help. You're here to what? He wants the guy to say that I make money selling.
Some people were able to go through and help them on this stuff and kind of point them in the right direction. And you folks might be, along those lines, because I think you've done a really good job on things. We have a lot of people, and I'm not sure what it is this area. You mentioned do-it-yourself kind of person.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things that we do.
And you probably can help them a lot.
So what you do is fee-based?
When we do the investments, if we handle some of the investments, then that's fee-based.
Okay.
Yep. We don't do straight commission on our investments at all. I still have that license for another 6 months or so, and I'm deciding what to do with it. But it would cost me like $400 a month in insurance, and I've just never seen myself.
Dave asked a great question. Why are we talking about this? So this guy is still talking only about who? Himself. So I'm going to jump forward because we're running out of time. I want to get some more of this in here. So we're going to jump forward about 10 more minutes now at this point. Here we go.
And then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, I'm not real sure on the win-win-win, but I think it's probably worth, again, getting a little smarter on.
Yep, absolutely.
Kind of thing.
Sure. And you're at good ages for it also. So good age and good health. Because we see a lot of people.
So what's the advisor heard there? Oh, great. I guess the last 2 hours and 58 minutes weren't wasted because this guy's interested in the win-win-win. Is this guy really interested in the win-win-win? No.
70s, mid-70s, and they're either a little longer there can be issues, things that have come up. So we see a lot of different things there, and it doesn't work out quite as well for us.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, why don't we look at that? There's one other quick thing that slipped my mind.
Yeah, I'm going to jump forward again because then he goes. Another quick thing jumped his mind is other stuff that had nothing to do with what our primary goal was, which is to get them to admit that their situation is untenable. I'm going to jump forward. This is the last piece of tape we're going to listen to here. It's about 2 minutes or about 45 seconds long, I think.
Okay, then what we'll do is let me look at some things, and if you could look for the TSA. Yeah. And
I know that for your folder there.
Yeah, thank you. When my father-in-law came back from Vietnam, it was not a pretty reunion.
No, that's unfortunate. But
yeah,
you know, and you're seeing the rebound from that these last 10.
So 3 hours in, guess what he's trying to do at this point? He's trying to develop rapport. The best way to develop rapport, or the crappiest way to develop rapport? Yeah, let's be buddies. Exactly. The worst way.
And then that sentiment that's totally swung the pendulum to the other side.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Okay, then what we'll do is let me look at some things, and if you could look for the TSA actual contracts, we can take a look through those real quickly. But let me see if things make sense, and then I'll have, assuming it does, and I'll compile some of that other information, have Terry touch base with you and
okay.
You know, make enough time for you.
I would say make it a matter of.
You've got the kids coming in.
Yeah, let's make it a matter of months here, not weeks.
Yeah.
What did he just say there, guy? What did he just say to the guy? Yeah, he said bye-bye. How? What did he say? When does he want him to talk to follow up? Months, not weeks. So what did he just tell the guy? So, dudes, just in the things where we hopped around here, was this guy doing an advisorectomy or was he doing a beauty pageant mentality again? Do you see what I'm talking about when I say beauty pageant mentality? It was all about me. Look at the things I have. Look at how I treat clients. Look at how I communicate with clients. This is what I do. This is how I charge in fees. I. When should my firm come out of your mouth during a 21-point checklist? Never. Never. Make sense? So let's just quickly, before we get off, you review top to bottom. So you go from 21 backwards. Then you say, does this give you a better picture of where you are than when we first started? And what will they all say to that? When you ask them that? Yes. Say, do you see any changes that need to be made? What will they say to that? Yes. And then you see down here where it says no. Then what you want to say, do you want me hands-on with making these changes, or is this an academic exercise? What will they say to that? Yeah, invite you in like a vampire. And so why do we say, instead of saying where do I fit in, we're still saying where do I fit in, but we're saying, do you want me hands-on making these changes? That's right in their what? Face. They need to say, I want you hands-on. I want your fingers in my clay helping me design a plan. Make sense? Then what do? I say, well, we covered a lot today. So let's do this. Let's give time for the dust to settle. We'll get together in about a week. Dust will settle. You have some good questions for me. We'll just get together, and then we'll move forward at your pace. How does that sound? What do I sound like a salesman or a consultant when I do that? Okay, we covered a lot today, so let's do this. Make a point for about a week out. That'll give time for the dust to settle. You can come up with good quality questions. We'll get all those questions answered, and then we'll just move forward at your pace. What do I not sound like there? A salesman. In fact, guess what most people say if you do this properly? What are most people saying at this point when I say, we'll make an appointment for a week out? What do most people say at that point? They want to get together faster. And all I say is, well, I just always make sure I have an opening a week out. It sounds to me like you want it sooner than a week out, or you're okay with a week out? No, we want it sooner. Well, what we can do, I can't promise you this, but we can go out and look. And if there's one sooner, you would want me to do what? Well, I'd want to meet you sooner. Okay, so let's go out and we'll see if there's one sooner, if we can do that. And that'll still give time for the dust to settle, give time for you to get quality questions, and we'll just move forward at your pace. Guess what I say at every single meeting? Move forward at your pace. Do I ever want to tell them at the end of the meeting, okay, the next meeting we're going to sign paperwork. The next meeting we're going to move money. Do you think that ever comes out of my mouth? No. Yeah, they are in control. Absolutely. So, does this help? I mean, going at the beginning and the end, you'd think, geez, that's not really even part of the meeting. That's a throwaway. Is the beginning and the end a throwaway, or is that just as important as every other piece? Yeah, it's just as important. Coolio. Well, you guys have thanks for your attention today, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you all next Monday. Thanks, everybody.